Well, Mel, what are
It's helpful.
we chatting about today, darling?
What are we? So just a caveat before you read it.
Yes, darling.
So it's about if you're together with somebody, what if you find something out about this person that they haven't told you and it randomly comes out for whatever reason and it's very shocking?
Yeah. Does it
what?
change your opinion about the person you've been with for years?
Yeah, and would it and shape the way like, oh no, they're a totally different person to me, exactly. And is there a level of what would shock you and what wouldn't?
Exactly.
So there we go.
Here we go, guys. So this person says, my wife, Hallie, and I have been married for a little over 4 years, and we have a 1-year-old child. Last weekend, we both had a few drinks when she revealed something to me that I never would have expected from her. Hallie said that back when she was in college, she used to work as a dominatrix to support herself. Get it, girl? I was taken aback, and since then, I haven't been able to look at her the same way. I realized this took place before we met, but I can't get it out of my head that my wife and the mother of my child is a former sex worker. Should this be an issue, or is it just something I need to get over?
Well, my first question is if she's a dominatrix, generally there's no actual sexy stuff. I mean, I guess it's still technically a sex worker.
You are you're solving people's fantasies, kind of.
Yeah, but you're not actually often having sex.
No, yeah, you're just kind of.
Does that make it technically legal? That's a good question.
You could be topping straight guys.
Topping straight guys,
like fucking them.
Oh,
pegging
I
them.
see. Oh,
technically you are, but I have no idea if this is what kind of dom stuff she was doing. But also, it's like if she wasn't, because dom women aren't usually getting.
They're generally like sort of clamping your nipples and whipping you and shit. Like wearing the outfit, like I
make you clean their floors.
Exactly,
which I love that part.
Amazing,
excellent job, ladies, that we figured that out.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I thought they often weren't actually having sex.
I mean, this man does have to get over it because it was a long time ago. But they're married, they have a child. She did this back in college to make money. Good for her for figuring it out and still finishing college.
Right.
Obviously, they have a beautiful life together.
And obviously it was before OnlyFans, so there's no evidence.
There's no evidence.
But the thing that's so odd to me is he says they had a few drinks. You're telling me this is when you, surely when you first start going out is when you have the more drinks.
Yeah.
So how has she kept it under wraps?
I don't know. It's actually very impressive that she's kept it for him for this long. Maybe they was just like bringing up like funny things they were doing in college. And then she was like, oh, by the way, this is actually how I paid for college.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that's the amount of the thing about this. Also, why did she stop? You know, she made this much money.
I have so many questions. How do you get into it? Number one, before OnlyFans and stuff like that. Really?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
Could you actually list? Really?
Yeah, they're personals or whatever.
That's hilarious. So you just go, oh, I fancy finding a dominatrix.
I'm sure there was like special words or something. I'm sure there's still special words. But I think it's the classifieds. It's like the personal classifieds.
But I wonder what gets you into it. Must be a situation or something must happen. You can't suddenly go, oh yeah, I'm not going to make money. I'm going to become a dominatrix. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, fine. And at the end of the day, if she's fine with it, but the one thing I do think though is if she was really fine with it, she would have told him at the beginning.
I mean, obviously there's a certain level of shame, right? Where you're kind of like, this is how I made my money and I'm not ashamed of what I did because it literally got me to where this point. But also, I don't want people to judge me from the decision that I made and it worked out for me. And they will judge you, obviously. Yeah. This is what's happening. Yeah. So you kind of just have to hope that your partner is not going to make a big deal out of it, which obviously he's trying to get over.
Yeah, I mean, I think lots of things are going to be going through his head. Like, did they have sex? Obviously, then that does lead into some questions about sexually transmitted stuff. Although if they've been having sex and they've had a baby, they should be fine. I mean,
you'd hope they've been tested by
them.
I
mean, I do understand why it's shocking because that society is shocked by this stuff. And I think also on another level, like you haven't told the truth or you've neglected the truth. And I guess, that can send your mind down all sorts of things. Like, what other things have you not told me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty shocking. I mean, it would in the sense that what if she said, "Oh yeah, I didn't tell you in college I was a cheerleader or something." You'd be like, "Okay, that's weird. You didn't tell me." But it's not shocking or interesting or sexy or anything
Right.
like that. So you'd be like, "Oh, okay." But because this is so on the fringes of kind of society and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
people will be shocked. I mean, look, he's got two choices. He goes or he accepts it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love your wife and love your child, I suggest you have a conversation about it.
Well, yeah, and even just, like, asking more questions about it
Yeah.
to be like, "Hey, I love you. I just wanna make sure that, like, you know that I'm not mad about you for this,
Yeah.
but I just wanna know more because I'm confused as to why you didn't tell me first up." And then you can be upset at that point about that she didn't tell you,
Tell you the truth, yeah.
but there is that thing about, like, she can't change her past. You
No.
love her.
Yeah.
You've had a child with her.
Yeah.
You're married to her.
Yeah.
This is
And,
just something that is about her, but it's not who she is.
yeah, exactly. And there are circumstances, and maybe, she obviously doesn't want to be connected to it anymore,
Mhm.
and which I understand. And, she doesn't want people to find out, and so you kind of keep it under wraps. But I mean, like I said, he's got two choices, accept it or go.
Yeah.
And if you accept it, my suggestion would be to talk about it, and most importantly, why she didn't want to talk about it and why it took so long, and what suddenly, I mean, you know what it's like when you've had a few drinks. There's something, it's not like, it's still something she was thinking about telling him. She probably got to the point where I kind of need to tell him this for whatever reason, or I feel I'm hiding it. And so you're drunk and it kind of speeds it up.
Yeah.
But it didn't suddenly pop into my, oh yeah, today's the day I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
talk
tell
about this.
you.
I would imagine that she'd been thinking about it, or something's
Yeah.
happened that's
She's
triggered it.
wanted to tell you
Yeah.
for a
And then you've
while.
had some drinks, and because it's kind of top of her mind, it
Yeah.
kind of comes out. And that's generally what the drink does,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It's like when you fancy somebody, or, whatever, and you had too many drinks, it'll come to the top.
And to be honest, this might also be, like, something that is a trauma. Maybe she doesn't even know that it's a trauma for her,
Yeah.
but it is because
Yeah.
she's had to do this to pay for college.
Yeah.
Like, she could have, worked at a Starbucks or whatever, but she
Right.
couldn't, or it was just didn't work. So she found something that actually was able to pay a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's not happy maybe about it, and she's a completely different person now, and she wants you to accept her for who she
Yeah.
is, and that's super hard because it is sex work, and
It
people
is.
do have to get their mind around that. Like, if would it have been different if she was an OnlyFans girl
Mm.
and like, there's
Well,
proof of that,
surely
or
that's worse in
I
his mind,
know.
because then people would. I think it's the thing, we've talked about this in previous episodes, that, in my opinion, you do what you have to do in life, and, as long as you've made that decision freely, it's really up to you.
Mhm.
But often when you make choices about the things that you're doing, and maybe in some circumstance like this, sex work or OnlyFans or any of these kind of things, while you're doing it and while you're making the money, you're not really thinking about what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
You can't, otherwise you'd never do it.
Yeah.
And also, you don't know, in fact, until later how you're going to
Mhm.
feel. And, they do talk a lot about, there's a lot of like articles been written about, like, porn stars who then go on to be like, live completely normal lives. And it sort of, obviously, it traumatizes them. And it's not that they didn't make that choice. It's just they don't know
How they're gonna feel about
how
it
they're going to
in,
feel.
like, 10 years.
Yeah. And that people, even though you may want to go on and live let's call it an ordinary life, being a mom, living in a nice little house and having a sort of ordinary job or whatever, the rest of the world doesn't want to let you forget it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. But if she definitely wasn't on camera on the internet, great. Nobody needs to know.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast, and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website at sharingmytruth.com to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye!